The Gospel of the Lord. Jesus continues to invite us to do an inside job on ourselves, this week on our attitudes, values, and convictions in regard to anger, violence, and hate versus forgiveness, nonviolence, and love. Our natural or instinctive reaction when we are punched is to punch back. When we are called a name, to fire back a worse one. When we are insulted, to throw an insult back. When we are hurt in any way, to return some hurt. If we follow our instincts as a victim of hostility or violence, we can easily get ourselves into a cycle of revenge and an escalation of the evil and violence. Retaliation, condemnation, and judging others comes very naturally, and that is what Jesus asks his followers to break away from. Unlike animal creatures that operate only out of instinct, as human beings we are expected to operate out of something more than instinct reaction. We have been given an intellect and free will that enables us to think through things and to make rational choices about our responses to events that happen in our lives. Jesus did not believe in the old Jewish law of an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth, even though that law represented moral progress in that day. Before the Jews had adopted that law, when they were wronged or injured, they were allowed to take vengeance sevenfold, tenfold, or 100-fold, whatever they could get by with. The law, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, actually limited revenge and only allowed one to inflict retaliation equal to one's injury. In today's gospel, Jesus is saying when we act out the urge to retaliate, it will get us nowhere, even though it feels like the natural thing to do. Jesus is saying we cannot overcome evil, anger, violence, and hate with more evil, violence, anger, or hate. We can only overcome those things with forgiveness, nonviolence, and love. A problem with this gospel is that some of us do not really think that this approach will work, and so we don't give it much of a chance. Turning the other cheek, refusing to respond with more evil, giving more than we are asked for, loving our enemies, and praying for our persecutors seems hopelessly unrealistic. Jesus is not asking us to be doormats or punching bags for other people. He is just saying that fighting evil with violence and with more evil and violence is fruitless. As capable people, we are responsible for protecting our own dignity. We are temples of God, as we were told in the second reading, but the defense of that dignity with violence will not bring us peace or dignity. When we get to the root of violence and hate, we will usually find anger about something someone chose to express in evil ways. Anger is an emotion that can be easily aroused and is sometimes masked by calling it other names that soften what we may truly be feeling, like calling it impatience or annoyance, disappointment, irritation, frustration, or hurt. Hurt is one of the most poor representations of our anger because it confuses what the response to it should be. Most people deal with others who feel hurt in a different way than they deal with people who are truly angry. We all need to name our feelings accurately if we expect a proper response to them, and if we are going to maintain good communication in our relationships. Like all feelings, anger itself is neither good or bad. It is not sinful to feel angry. All of us need our anger for survival because it provides us with information and energy, which is essential for healthy human growth and also for self-protection. We either feel threatened or wronged, and we need then to decide if there is anything we should do about that situation. We do not always have to act on our feelings of anger. Because we only have so much time and energy, a key question when we feel angry is this issue worth investing in? Wisdom teaches us that we need to pick our battles. We cannot do something about everything, or we would be in battle all the time. Sometimes we simply can choose to forget about something. However, it never helps to stuff anger. When anger is really true, it is not let go of or expressed appropriately, then it can be pressed down inside a person, and eventually it will usually push back out again, come out sideways in some way, sometimes in violent or deviant behavior. So when does anger become sinful, a moral issue? When do we become liable to judgment, as mentioned in last week's gospel? The answer lies in Jesus' commands to not hold grudges, to forgive 70 times, 7 times, and to love as we are loved by God. It is morally wrong to harbor anger and hatred, to feed on that resentment and bitterness in length of days, which anger can sometimes bring. When we hold as hostages our old hurts, our tragedies, angers, and grudges, and nurture them, dwell on them, and revisit them, and the unresolved pain connected to them, we simply cannot move on with life because that old stuff is keeping us imprisoned. That deep sore or wound in our soul that we harbor becomes an evil that desecrates the temple of God which we are. Being angry never gives us a license to rage, to yell at people, to put people down, break things, swear, cuss, and be offensive, scare others, or hurt someone as we try to get our control back. In those situations, we are not controlling our anger is controlling us. We cannot just go on raging and treating others badly and justify it by saying that's just the way I am, I can't change. Jesus said in last week's gospel, if you choose, you can keep the commandments. May we continue to do an inside job on ourselves by truly looking honestly at the anger that we carry in life.